Hey there, I'm Josh and we're going to break down everything and anything about games. So today we're going to talk about the popular game series Dark Souls along with Bloodborne and probably Phantom Whale when that comes out. Now I've seen a lot of people that like Dark Souls a lot, and it's true, there are a lot of videos about it breaking down the mechanics, the gameplay, the world design, but I'm just going to go for a brief overview because a lot of people love it but don't really know why. So the first concept I'm going to cover is challenge, not to be confused with difficulty. Now the first thing that comes to mind with the words Dark Souls, at least by the standards of a lot of reviewers and the general public, is that it's a hard game series. Now there are different ways we can look at this, but I would say it being hard extends into it being challenging but not difficult. The difference being that difficulty can be unfair sometimes. You can find a game difficult and blame the game. You can throw the controller because you didn't feel like you were in enough control to have warranted that game over. But with challenge, the hardness rating is justified by your own actions, and every time you die it's a result not of the game but of you and your abilities. Every time you see that death screen on Dark Souls, you just know if you could replay that scenario again and do one little thing differently, you'd have been fine. The problem isn't the game, it gives you all the tools you need to overcome the obstacles, and the problem lies usually in a mistake you made. This human element makes the gameplay addicting. You just want to get back up and show the enemy that it was just a stupid mistake and next time you'll overcome it. It's also the only game series I know that completely divides people on what sections are difficult. Now, there are exceptions, with Smo and Ornstein in the first game usually considered all round tough. But if I ask my friends what they struggled with, they usually all have different answers. I mean, that wouldn't be too strange, but the fact is, I've played through each of the games several times and each time I find a different boss difficult, and sometimes I found them easy. The game isn't changing, it's me, and I think that's what makes the game so replayable. I think a lot of this comes down to expectations. Dark Souls plays with your emotions in every fight. Just seeing that overly long health bar at the bottom of the screen floods your body with adrenaline, even if the boss isn't all that. Now your body is instantly going to react to that health bar, to the musical cues, to the fog wall you just entered. It's hyping itself up for what could be a difficult battle. And the fact is, sometimes it's not a difficult battle. But this tension created through a few simple elements makes you prone to mistakes, and you die even if it should have been an easy win. Bloodborne is a great place to test this because you can fight regular enemies in some of the Chalice dungeon boss fights, and you've fought them 100 times before, but heck, add a bit more health, make them a boss encounter, and I'm almost 100% sure that more people will die on that enemy than the dozens before it that were just regular enemies. On subsequent playthroughs, the difficulty can change wildly, even for someone who's already played it, and I call this the expectational effect. For example, on my latest Bloodborne playthrough I defeated Father Gascoigne and Vicar Amelia on the first try, and originally these were two of my hardest bosses on my first run. The same goes with Smo and Ornstein on my latest Dark Souls run, which the first time playing probably took about 70 tries. Now here's how the difficulty changes. My expectations from the first time playing told me that Smo and Ornstein were going to be near unbeatable again, so I gave it everything I had, and I went in there with the expectation that I'd never do it and that the first time was a fluke. And this expectation had been so inflated over the time of not playing it, inflating it as I repeated that fight over and over in my head, that it just wasn't as hard as I remember. Now with bosses like Ceaseless Discharge, I'd never died to them before. My expectation was that there'd be nothing, that they wouldn't even need my focus. So I let my guard down and lo and behold, I'm dead. Now imagine the next playthrough, everything will be reversed and the fluctuations in expectations of what I can do and can't do will be in a constant cycle, making the game a unique playthrough every time. For some people this can even work in the opposite way. When you know a boss is going to be hard, the tension can deliver those mistakes as easily as they may pump up another player to beat them. This difference in how it may affect different players is probably why the games are so unique in their hardness. So those are a few of my thoughts on the Souls and Bloodborne games and how they handle difficulty. If you enjoyed the video, or if you didn't, feel free to leave a like, whatever else you want to do. And yeah, until next time, see ya.